As mentioned, it is the SHOPO Hour, and delighted that you are with us. Equally delighted that with us in studio, Brother Nick is on board with us, keeping the room under control. Thank you very much, Brother Nick. Good morning.
Welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Brother Steve, aloha to you.
Rick, good morning, brother. Always happy and grateful to be here with you and your listeners.
Thank you so very much. And gentlemen, would you join me?
Jesus.
There's a man who ruined the buffet. No. There's a man in the last seat, but not by designation of his humanity and his thoughtfulness and his number of miles acquired while going round trip to Thailand 17 times a year. He's in our studio. Would you join me? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, my gosh.
Happy birthday, dear Mark. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. It was yesterday, but
I know. Well, you were here yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
All right, but
you were in
Happy
lockup
Monday.
yesterday,
Happy
which
Monday,
is
everybody.
ironic that a retired major would actually be in a holding cell for his
I
birthday.
know. I called Steve to bail me out, but it didn't work. You know? They give me an extra jelly sandwich.
And I want to thank both gentlemen, your brothers, for jumping in on that happy birthday song.
Yeah, well,
The guy
you
that
would've
has
lost your
no
audience,
voice.
Okay.
Well,
you were carrying the group, Rick. You were
Oh,
carrying.
Well, good
man.
to see you, Nick. You haven't been here for a while, so
Yeah,
good to
thank
see
you. Yeah, thanks.
And happy Monday, everybody.
Happy Monday. It's good to see
Thanks
you,
for the
fellas.
serenade there, Rick.
Yeah, well, I'm just so emotional right now.
I could put in for Social Security now. You know?
What? Just now? Anyhow, fellas, I know we haven't been together in a couple weeks. I want to go up and down the playground for a moment. I've got a couple of things, but I really am encouraging our friends to give us a call at 521-8383. Just a reminder that Brother Steve Keogh, Vice President of SHOPO, and Brother Nick is, what's the proper designation, Director of, or for Honolulu?
Ribeye and Cabernet. Yes, sir. Yes.
That was Brother Nick.
No, actually, now I'm the state board treasurer.
Okay.
Yes.
All
yes.
right.
So transition jobs about a month ago.
Oh, it was? My goodness.
Yeah.
So that means Nick picks up the tab for everything?
Well, you better make sure those entries are correct, because then,
Yeah.
they're going to try him for falsifying business records.
Nick's,
you know?
Nick has the purse strings.
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Brother Mark, retired major with the Honolulu Police Department, but you served how many years?
31 and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're like a 7-year-old that says, how old are you? I'm 7.5 years old.
That's 6 months.
That is true. That is
He
true.
does say that, doesn't he? 31 and you,
That's
just,
true.
you know what it is, Rick? He just wants to be accurate. It's part of being
gotta be accurate, man.
part of being a
You
good
know?
cop, right? Got to be accurate.
That's it. That is it. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Vice President, of whatever you'd like to share with us, top of mind. Haven't seen each other in a couple of weeks. What would you like to share with us?
You know, Rick, for Nick and I and the rest of the union officials, we're going to be coming together. We're having a caucus. It's going to be our second one. We have to get everything together to present a contract coming soon. So for me and Nick and the rest of us, top of mind, union focused, we're going to be coming together, and the rest of this week is going to be full on press of putting together something that we feel is fair and appropriate for our members, a big think tank. And it's going to be a full week for us with union stuff. Nick and I and the other union leaders are actually going to be on release time. We're not going to be performing any police duties during this week, and we're going to be down at SHOPO Hall putting our next contract together.
And thank you for sharing.
Yep.
Maybe we can get into some more details in a moment. And Brother Nick, as from your perspective, what would you like to share too?
So usually about 18 months out from the expiration of a contract is when we start to really get into the meat and potatoes of renewing the contract. And that's when we go through all 57 articles of our contract, the supplemental agreements for every county, and a whole lot of other things, cost items as well. And we start making decisions about how we want to change things, add, subtract, and so on. It's a lengthy process. We will meet several more times like this before our contract ends. And we just spend a lot of sit-down time as a group going line by line through everything in order to see what kind of changes we need to make that are beneficial for the membership. We also spend a lot of time in these meetings working through policy and procedure internally within the union to make sure that those kinds of things are up to date. And even if we're not necessarily interested in changing them, we do our due diligence by just simply reviewing them as a group and brainstorming to see if there is anything that anybody catches or feels that is appropriately needs to be addressed.
Gotcha. We'll have a follow-up in a moment. I want to turn to Brother Mark, though, top of mind. I know it's been a piece of time, but
I've been out of the loop because I've been really busy. I haven't been paying attention to any news or anything. But let me. We have Police Week,
yes.
beginning this last month, and then I follow this. I follow this website, Officer Down Memorial page. I've been following them for years, right? So, like I mentioned before, we have Police Week, but we should be remembering these people all year round, right? So, but let me give you the latest numbers. So far this year, 59 police officers in this country died, right? And the breakdown is 22 by gunfire, 22 auto-related, 8 medical, and 7 other, which would be like maybe knives or something like that. Mm-hmm. So, that's 59 people, right? It's up 5% from last year so far. And
we're only halfway through the year, barely.
Yeah, barely. Yeah. So, let's remember these people all year round.
What do these statistics, and I hate to use statistics because every single one is a human being that has lost their life, but what does it speak to you that these numbers are at this level only halfway through the year?
Yeah, sadly, it's like this yearly, and I keep bringing it up, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but these people that have influence on our laws and our statutes and all that, they need to wake up, and they need to support their local police departments. You need to help these people instead of making criminals protect their class. Mm-hmm. How about you protect these guys and give them what they need? So sadly, it's like this all the time. But I follow this website and try to pay homage to these guys.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing it. And also the site is, again?
Officer Down Memorial page. It's ODMP.
Okay.
Is it org or .com? I don't even know. Something like that. But they have their own app also.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I want to personalize things for just a moment. Bernadette and Zachary took a trip to the North Shore. A driving trip, I think it was on Saturday. And I was home the whole time until I got a call at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it was Bernadette calling to say that they were stuck in the Like tunnel, in the middle of the tunnel. Bernadette's car died. She has an EV. And that was it. In the middle. Traffic going by at blazing speeds to the point where Zachary had to get on the horn just to make sure people saw them. Very precarious, hazardous situation. An HPD officer rolled up, got behind their car, Berna's car, put on the lights, checked to make sure they were okay. He remained with them until the AAA tow truck arrived. And I want to thank that officer. Unfortunately, I don't have the name, but I want to thank that officer because it was a hazardous condition that my family found themselves in. And that officer, I believe, is instrumental to ensuring that they were able to return home safely. So, whomever the officer was, but I think it's indicative of all, protecting us. And that's what we mean by protecting the public.
Rick, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, when you talk about getting stuck in the tunnel, that's just a bad situation all the way around.
Yeah.
Depending on what direction she was heading, Rick.
Townbound.
Okay, so that would be officers possibly then from the District 4 Patrol Division on the windward side. So that's Kaneohe, Kailua, Kahuku. Mm-hmm. So it's probably an officer that was assigned to that station, just
Okay.
for a little bit more
Good.
information to you.
Thank you.
And then if it was the other way, it would be officers from District 5.
Okay.
Lee.
Espousing ever thankful that they were safe. You had mentioned that you're congregating, meetings, review 18 months out. By the way, could you call the Heart Board and have them resolve their stuff 18 months in advance? But anyway, sidebar. What's top of mind? What is it that you perhaps would like to focus on if you did triage the important issues that are facing your membership?
Okay, so we're going to be a broken record, but we're going to do it one more time.
Okay.
Obviously, staffing in all 4 counties is the most important issue. We need to get people into this job. We need to get them competently trained. We need to get them out on the road. We need to get them helping the public. It's as simple as that. Many different roads lead to solving that problem. Some of those roads are built into what the union does in order to incentivize or increase the opportunities for people financially or otherwise to take the job. We can't get into specifics about cost items, numbers that were floating around, or specific things that we'd like to do when we're in the negotiation process. It's actually illegal for us to do that. It's all completely confidential.
Okay.
So if you wanted to know how much you're going to ask for, can't tell you.
Right.
All right. But we will say that our focus, I think, more than anything else, is making sure that there is enough financial compensation and enough what you would call other compensations out there so that our incumbent officers are encouraged to stay in the department longer or not jump ship to another department. And also those young people out there who are interested in the job are enticed to come when they compare what they would be making or earning or experiencing here in the civilian sectors.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Nick. Steve?
Rick, I was thinking, I listened to the other show where the trades guys come on.
Yeah.
And they talk about the apprentice programs. And here's the thing, right? If you think that building houses, being a carpenter, being an electrician, being a plumber, and you appreciate men and or women that have done that for a long period of time, and you associate length of service with quality of the job, let's just put that into police work. How important is public safety and how important is police work? And if we can identify that in the trades, those union people with their union cards that have been doing it in a minute could bring a level of skills that the new people just don't have. Okay. Police work fundamentals is learned in the academy, but any good cop will tell you being a better police officer is learned on the streets or through the investigative bureau. You have to get in the mix and you have to do it.
Right.
To tie into the question you asked us, we need to retain our members. We need cops that come up to that 25-year mark, okay? We need them to stay.
Yeah.
And we need to somehow incentivize them to put retirement on hold and say, hey, can you stay longer? Guys in Mark's generation, 25 was just a get start. Everybody in Mark's, and I say that with respect as Mark being an old timer, they worked to 28 years, 29, 30, 31 and a half, right?
Yeah.
Right now, in Nick and mine's kind of group, everyone's like, oh yeah, 25, we're out.
Yeah.
So kind of just to tie it in to make it relevant, we need police officers that have worn the uniform for a long period of time and developed great skill sets as either patrol, street cops, or investigators to stay longer.
It seems that condition would have to supersede the benefits of retirement and make it, quote unquote, worth the officer's while to stay.
1,000,000% correct. 1,000,000% correct. Because as we've said before on your show, and it's just stating facts, Nick said, we have a hole that we haven't been able to plug on the back end. So it doesn't matter how much you put in the bucket. If the hole at the bottom isn't plugged, it's going to be a tough go, right? Yeah. So we applaud. We're happy to see the steps that the administration has taken to get people into the profession. But now I think from the union's perspective, we need to present a new contract. So the so over whether the contract is, and we can determine the number of years, but see if we can have individuals weigh the balance and see if they want to stick around for a couple years.
Well, let me ask Brother Mark, at 31 and a half, is there any incentivization that would resonate with you to perhaps staying on for maybe an extra year, 2, 3 or more?
Well, of course, it depends on the person's situation, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But, one of the recruiting tools they need to bring back, and, they mentioned it once or twice, but now you don't hear it anymore. They need to bring back the old benefits. They took benefits away from these officers, right? So, and that's including the percentage of retirement, right? So, my retirement was 2.5% per year of service based on your high 3, right?
Okay.
From what I understand, the new people coming in, it's 2.25%, right? Based on base pay, no overtime, high 5, right? Am I correct? So, but let me tell you, that 0.25%, that's a lot, So, there's a lot of other jobs out there that offer better benefits, and, case in point, I had an officer work for me, went to postal inspector because the benefits were better. Yeah. Got paid the same amount of money, but the benefits were better.
Yeah, if you don't mind me interrupting for a moment, there's another phenomenon that we're starting to notice and experience in the Honolulu Police Department, and that is that incumbent officers who are at about the 5 to 10 year mark are really getting interested in being law enforcement in other agencies or other capacities elsewhere, and they're getting some pretty good offers. I can't go into a whole lot of detail; I'd be wasting a lot of time talking about it. But there are other agencies out there that are headhunting, and what they're doing is they're looking for qualified people who have a good amount of training, like Steve said, who spent a lot of time on the ground in various capacities, who just have a repertoire that's really attractive, and they're noticing them in these capacities, and they're just basically coming out and offering them face to face. Would you like to come to work for us for this or that? And that's a hard pill to swallow, because a lot of these people are really good officers that your departments would really benefit from if they could retain. But the competition is so fierce nowadays from outside agencies trying to come in and take our people, that it's extremely difficult to compete with what we have here locally.
So we got to take a look at that, right? And say, when other agencies try to poach, give that officer a reason to stay. Yeah. Right? You got, otherwise you're going to lose. And like Nick said, we lost some really good officers to other agencies.
Yeah,
a lot.
We're going to lose more this year, and I'd just like to say one other thing. The attitude of, well, if you don't like it here, you can go somewhere else, which is what I've heard in my department several times from its administrators. I won't name names, but if you're listening, you know who you are. You should not say that to people. That is absolutely the worst possible thing you could do.
I would hope that there is, when talking about valuation, I understand dollars and cents, but they're the intangibles. And I'll point to what you mentioned before, institutional knowledge. By losing the multiple years of service, you're losing so much more than what the financial side would negate. Just having that experience logged in.
So I want to touch on that. So once a month, a bunch of retirees get together, have a breakfast. Right? And the first time I attended, it's got to be like 40, 50 guys show up, right?
Great.
A lot of guys show up, and they're old timers. Some were my lieutenants, my sergeants from when I first went in. But I just sat back and I look at all the experience in this room. There's got to be a way, because when you retire, poof, you're gone, right? So all that experience gone. There, I don't have the answer to it, but there's got to be a way to channel all that experience, bring a mentor system in or something, but use all that experience. Once they retire, don't just let them go off. Try to retain them to have that experience passed on in the department.
In those conversations that you're witness to and participate in, is it expressed that the fellas are going, I just retired because it was my time, but I would like to continue if ...
A lot would.
Okay.
A lot would, because a lot of retirees, they are grateful to the department, and the department's been good to them, so they want to give back. A lot do, so, and a lot of them are, like I said, lieutenants, sergeants, captains, old majors.
Right.
They're all there, so it's a lot of experience.
At what point in the then we'll move on at bottom of the hour news, but at what point do you engage with the administration? What point in the crafting of, and when does negotiations and or when you are now parallel working towards what you hope to achieve for your members?
Well, in the current situation we are with contract negotiations, it's my understanding that the employers have already kind of set what their ideas are going to be. So as we progress towards our deadline date, we will be exchanging information back and forth, and there will be at least one or two probably sit-down meetings, person to person, face to face. We'll be able to talk story about that. However, in the meantime, nothing precludes any chief of police from having an impromptu labor management meeting with our local chapter to discuss changes that affect all of these conditions. They can do it at any time.
Gotcha. Does the police commission get involved in any way during this part of the process?
No, not at all.
And there's no ultimate oversight over to what is decided upon? Is it simply the execution of a finalized contract?
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand.
So does the police commission, do they integrate themselves in at any part of this process?
No.
However, their role kicks in when the contracts are agreed upon by all parties, then they enforce what the conditions are or reference the contracts in any questions that come up.
They would be referencing it, but not enforcing it.
Gotcha. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for that. Very, very, very knowledgeable. And thank you for sharing. It is already the bottom of the hour at 7:32. Time is flying by. We're going to go through some other topics that are of interest, and we do that with you. We'll do it after this. I'd like to welcome you back. It is the SHOPO Hour. Muni Monday will be coming up next, and my brother Zach from Starkey's will pay us a visit as well on this Monday morning. I want to thank the fellas for taking us inside of some of the business at hand with SHOPO and the representation of membership. Just a couple of things. There has been a lot of attention on pay gap in various industries, occupations, etc. I'll tell you one of the pay gaps is we talked about Caitlin Clark coming up about the pay gap in the WNBA, how somebody, but it's all economic and get into that on another show. But is there a pay gap disparity within the HPD? And is there any concerns raised by members of SHOPO, by women members that say, hey, wait a minute, I'm doing this and that, and pay gaps? Any issues that you're confronting?
No, so the contract that we negotiate is for all police officers through the different county police departments. It's not obviously specific to gender.
Right.
So we don't have any issues with that. We go in there, and what we get is we get, and all members get that contract. Again, gender's irrelevant. Real quick on the Caitlin Clark, you were spot on with every one of your comments. 100%. Not that we're going to go down that road, Rick.
Right.
I was like, I was talking to you on the radio in the car as I was driving here. Spot on with all your comments. And I would just follow up, where are her teammates protecting her? She's the star.
right.
Where's the auxiliary players? But
Yep.
that was something different with Caitlin. But yeah, no. So doesn't matter. Everybody, we have a step process. So it depends on your rank and your time in the agency. With the agencies, that determines where you're going to land with pay, and then benefits are across the board.
So under the contract then, for pay increases, perhaps maybe embellishment of benefits, etc., is it based just on time served, or is it that's what the conditions now are in each contract? Then the review goes in and new contracts are established. That's how pay increases are effectuated. Is that basically it?
For lack of a better term, yes. Yeah, I don't think that the time of service has really changed in quite some time. So we've been using the same amount of time to get to a new increase in pay forever. We call them steps. I believe that Arthur Logan has suggested to us that perhaps we shorten some of the time. In order to do that, I cannot confirm or deny if we're entertaining that thought, but I believe that was one suggestion from him to incentivize people in staying in the department was essentially, can you get them their raises faster? But to Steve's point, I mean, it's an across-the-board thing. It doesn't matter where you work in the department. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're at a rank and you have a certain time in, you're going to make the same base pay as the same person who has that same rank and that same amount of time in the department. There are opportunities to make a little bit more money here or there. For example, if you ride motorcycles, the solo bikes, you do receive a hazard pay. If you do certain jobs that are entitled to hazard pay under contract, you'll get a percentage based on what you're doing. It's all prescribed in our contract as well. That is also not gender specific. Anybody can apply for those jobs. We have had females who ride ATVs who get hazard pay. We have had female solo bike officers in the past to receive hazard pay. So the opportunities are there across the board. There's no internal gap whatsoever as far as that goes.
Mark?
So I'm going to circle back to the, I think there was a resolution by Mr. Carl Rhodes there, so no surprise. I think they were, correct me if I'm wrong, they're trying to, by a certain date, have at least 30% women in the department, right? So, and
I'm sorry.
I was having a great experience right now,
Until
and then
I
you
mentioned
bring
Carl
him
Rhodes,
up.
right?
No, you bring him up, and then you bring up this.
Yeah.
Sorry, just keep going.
No. So I have my point is they want 30% of the department to be women by a certain date. You know, and they brought that resolution up, and then what kills me is they're making it as if HPD is preventing women from coming into the department, which is totally wrong. If we get a whole recruit class of all women, great, right?
Right.
You know, it just so happens that when you get a recruit class and let's say you got 20 men and only 5 women, well, that's the people that qualify to come into the class. It's not because of men and women disparity, right? So, and then, so the feds did that, right? Secret Service were mandated they have to have at least 30% women on their staffing, and they lowered their standards, and they're paying the price for it, as we saw what happened with Kamala's detail.
Oh, right,
Yes.
right.
Yes. So
did that make its way through? And I can take a look at it a little bit later, but
I'm not sure. I know it was brought up, and
it's just
but
asinine.
to mandate a certain percent, we could have 50, 75% women. We don't care. If they want to come in, they come in. But to put it like that, like HPD is holding them back, it's a bunch of BS.
Well, then also being statutorily required.
Yeah. So, what does that say?
So
right?
there we go.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And Steve and I are going to go out and
No, Rick, and
take a breathe.
And we've shared this before on the show. SHOPO is happy to entertain and have a fruitful dialogue with leaders in the community. We're happy to bounce ideas off. Mark made a great point. We don't care your gender as long as you're qualified.
Yeah.
Period.
But speaking of which, were you ever approached? Was SHOPO?
No, we were not.
When
and again,
this idea came up,
we've put it out there. I know Bobby's talked about it. Nick, myself, we are happy and will willfully talk to community leaders, politicians, judges, whoever that wants to throw some ideas at us. We're happy to have those conversations. But with Mr. Rhodes, we haven't come to that point yet.
I want to dovetail a little bit because our time is fast approaching, and I want folks to understand that the outreach by HPD and the accessibility is strong. And I remember back in the day when we first started talking about coffee with a cop, which I think is a fantastic idea that should be capitalized upon. But there is also neighborhood board meetings. There also are group presentations that HPD will go out, all the way from children, seniors, whatever the group may be. So, general public, I would really encourage you that if you have issues or questions or just simply want to get to know the people that are protecting and serving you, request to have a conversation, a presentation. And I'm hopeful folks will take more advantage of it. The only time we really get the public involved is when there's an incident that has controversy, and we don't want to do that. The preemptive strike, if you will, of empowering the community, knowing there's a partnership with our officers, I think would go a long way.
Yeah, along with that, when I was in Waikiki, and we held numerous coffee with the cops throughout Waikiki,
right.
And so I encouraged the public to go to them, because when I worked, anybody that was working, whatever group was working, whether it be either a plainclothes guys, bicycle guys, to patrol, if they were available, I would tell them to come down, at least, have and talk with the public. And it was good. A lot of the public, they appreciate it, and then you have any questions, you ask us, So they're really good events. They really are.
I love all of that. Gentlemen, I got to get this last break in. It's a short one, but we'll cover some more ground with our brothers in studio. It is the SHOPO Hour. It's 7:40.
Heart radio station. It's the SHOPO Hour on News Radio 830 KHVH.
You're dialed in. It is the SHOPO Hour here on News Radio 830 KHVH. Can I ask a couple fundamental things? And that has to do, I want to learn more. Domestic violence is a terrible scenario, and a consequence of that may be the issuance of a TRO. How is a TRO requested? How is a TRO granted? And importantly, how is a TRO enforced?
Temporary restraining orders, there are two different types. There's a civil and a family court. Typically, the ones that we deal with in the Honolulu Police Department are family court oriented. That is to say that a domestic violence situation has occurred, and one of the parties has decided that they need some type of enforcement action against the other party in order to keep that person away. Any beat officer who responds to a domestic argument, if one of the parties says, "Can you tell me how to get a TRO?" we do carry a card in our pocket that we can give you, that will give you the phone number for the family court. It is incumbent on the person who wants the TRO to make all of the arrangements to do it. They have to go down to the family court in Kapolei, petition the court, fill out a bunch of paperwork, turn it in. Typically, the petition will be granted, and that is a temporary restraining order. Typically, they last for about 4 weeks, and that gives the court enough time to get the respondent in the TRO, which is the person the document is being served against, into court with the petitioner, who's the person who requests the document. And a judge will then determine whether or not the restraining order should be upheld and converted to a protective order, which will last for several years, if not longer, or if there's no merit to having the order whatsoever, in which case it becomes completely dissolved. Once a TRO is filed, it's sent back to us electronically, in which case we have the responsibility of serving the TRO to the respondent. So we have to locate that person, identify them, give the documents, give them a copy, explain them, and then preferably have them sign a receipt for it. And then we file the receipt with the court, and if a violation of the terms and conditions of the order are reported to the police department, we investigate, confirm if there is a violation, and if there is, then we take appropriate action, which is typically by order of the court, an arrest of the respondent.
Thank you for that. Are attorneys involved in any way? For instance, may an attorney file on behalf of the petitioner, and then when the individual issued the TRO in court at that hearing, are attorneys involved, or is it simply the two parties?
From my experience, I've never seen an attorney file one on behalf of somebody. The court needs you in person there to physically attest to the situation and turn the documents in. They want to make sure that you actually exist. However, it is not uncommon in domestic violence situations for attorneys to be involved, because sometimes those situations do involve divorces or separations. They do involve child custody issues, exactly. And so many attorneys who specialize in those situations are familiar with the TRO process as well. So they'll guide the petitioner through it. But again, everything is incumbent on that petitioner to get the order.
Mark?
There is a domestic violence group that will help you, walk you through the process to get it, because it could be overwhelming for somebody that, that's never been through it before. I don't know the name of the group. I think it's on that card, though.
DVAC, I believe.
Yeah, so
Domestic Violence
Action. So everybody understands, the TRO will not be valid unless it's served. It has to be served. So just because the court issues it, it's not good until it's served on the respondent.
I see.
So,
and if the respondent is in the wind, there we go.
Yeah.
We have just about 4 minutes remaining in this. Well, this was fast. This flew by.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. I just want to pose one final thing. A scam alert has been issued that, unfortunately, there are some individuals who are impersonating officers and are issuing fake arrest warrants and approaching people. What do you advise to the general public if they encounter such an individual?
The takeaway, Rick, is law enforcement officers are not going to call you on the phone and say, you have a warrant out for your arrest. You have to wire money to us. You have to do some type of financial transaction via your computer or over the phone. It's a complete scam. Hang up the phone. Don't engage with them. Real quick on the TROs, if I may.
Sure.
Nick did a fabulous job. Mark brought up a great point. The TRO does not go into effect until the respondent is served. Other than that, the respondent doesn't have any court order. He or she has to show an ID, understand that they said it. The other thing that we run into in patrol, for whatever particular reason, sometimes the people that want to be the petitioners, which means start the process going, they actually make contact with the respondent. I don't know where it happens more than not, and I felt your listeners need to know that we have individuals that want a TRO against an individual in a domestic relationship. The TRO gets served, and then we actually get sometimes the respondent calling us saying the petitioner keeps contacting them.
Wow.
Just to throw that out there too.
That is very yeah. I'll just leave it.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't think it happens, but it actually does.
We're at 7:57 in the morning. The way we began the program was ask our gentleman for some final thoughts in this relation. Brother Nick, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to say for everybody that showed their support during Police Week last month, I really appreciate it. Thank you. It was a nice week and a good time.
Excellent. Thank you very much, brother. Brother Steve?
Rick, I say it when we come on the show. We're happy and grateful to be here. Thanks for the platform. We appreciate your listeners tuning in. The men and women that wear the uniform are happy to do it. We chose this profession, and it's all about service, and we're happy to do it. And thanks for having us.
Amen. Thank you very much, Brother Mark.
Yep. No,
Happy birthday to
Where's the
you.
balloons? I got no balloons here.
Oh, I got a couple of balloons under. You don't want to see them, though.
Anyway, have a good week, and we'll see you next week.
And there we have it. Gentlemen, by the way, I want to just say, again, many thanks for you taking the time. You have frenetic schedules, except this guy over here is a retired man, but he seems to be busier than all of us.
It's not easy being me.
It's not. It's a tough run. But you coming on the air and sharing with us and being very forthright. There's no dilly-dallying. That's a term from the 1840s, which I celebrate. But you're very frank, honest, and open, and I want to thank you and appreciate it very much. Brother Steve, I'll turn to you for just a moment. If folks would like to learn more about SHOPO, any information that you would like to share?
Sure. Please come visit us at shopohawaii.org. From our platform there, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
There we go. Brother Nick, thank you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Brother Steve.
Rick, see you next week. Thank you, brother.
And brother birthday boy Mark.
Happy Monday.
There we have it. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for the SHOPO Hour.